guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another Vlogmas video. I am going to be showing you some of the dinners that I've had in the last couple of weeks. I have a really yummy broccoli cheese soup, some mozzarella stuffed meatballs, which are definitely a keeper, absolutely amazing. Highly recommend this recipe. And a new recipe to me was this cabbage roll casserole. Wow, this was good and so low carb and so filling. It was super filling and makes a lot, so it makes excellent leftovers. And then kind of an old favorite is a chicken alfredo. Doesn't look too pretty, but it is tasty and definitely like a decadent type meal. And then we have the low carb taco pie. This is different than the low carb taco casserole I've shared with you a couple times. This one is good. Definitely try this recipe out. As usual, will have all the recipes linked down below. The first one is the broccoli cheese soup. I'm going to be making this in my pressure cooker only because I was making something else on the stove. So I am just using it like a pot. I am melting up some butter, sauteing up some garlic and onion. Going to get that all sauteed up. I'm going to add in a little bit of salt, of course, for flavor. So we're going to add in some salt and pepper into this. And whatever you want for as far as the amounts go, it's totally up to you as far as seasoning. Next up, adding in some broccoli and also adding in some heavy cream or half and half, whichever one you want to use. Again, I will have the recipe linked down below. Then you're going to add in some chicken broth. And I just add in this entire 32-ounce thing of chicken broth. I believe this was chicken bone broth that I used in this. And I think it was just 1 cup of some sort of milk, either cream or half and half. Usually I do it like half and half cream. And now we are going to go ahead and just bring this to a boil. That way we can get the broccoli cooked. And once the broccoli is all cooked, I'm going to take some out because I like to have chunks in my broccoli cheese soup. So I take out a good portion out. That's why I use a lot of broccoli in this recipe. I use a lot more than what the recipe says. I think I used like a 20-ounce fresh bag of broccoli, and I just take quite a bit out because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use our immersion blender. If you have one, if you don't, you can use a regular blender. Just be really careful because this is hot. I'm just going to take my immersion blender and I'm just going to blend all of this up. And yes, I always burn myself. And then we're going to add in some xanthan gum. Make sure you always add xanthan gum to hot liquid or else you will get a gummy mess. So make sure it's hot, just a boiling point. Then we're adding in our cheese. So I'm just using some shredded Colby Jack cheese. So I'm just going to put some of that in there. And this is after it's been all blended up. I'm going to give that a good stir. I don't put a whole lot of cheese in there because I do add cheese to the top of mine. And this is what it looks like. Look at that, y'all. It is the best. And then now we're going to be adding in our broccoli that we had kept out, and that's just to add in the chunks. So you can see here now we have chunks in our, this is completely optional. I just prefer to do this way because I do like to have a little bit of a chunky soup. And then I serve mine up with more cheese on top with pieces of bacon, and sometimes I even put some sour cream on top. This is a fantastic fall winter recipe and I make it all the time. Next up is going to be those mozzarella stuffed meatballs. First, I always use a combination of ground pork and ground beef. I just think it makes for more of a flavorful meatball. Spices, you're going to need minced onion, garlic powder, onion powder, Italian herbs, some kind of grated Parmesan cheese. I have this grated Parmesan and Romano cheese. All the measurements will be down below in the recipe link. And then in your bowl, you just want to put in an egg. You're going to add in all those spices, including the grated cheese, to your meat. And then you're going to, of course, get it all smushed up, which I try to use like my little smasher thing, but I always end up using my hands. And after it gets all mixed up, then you want to I just take like an ice cream scoop and I scoop out that amount, add in a square piece of cheese. I think I forgot to show that part to you, but I took a block of mozzarella cheese, cut it up into little squares, as you can see right here. And then we are just going to mold that meatball around the square. And you're going to continue doing this, and then you will put these into a 375-degree oven for about 20 minutes. I forgot to show that to you. I'm really bad vlogger. Anyway, so this is what they look like when they come out of the oven. And then I have a couple different options for marinara sauce. I have this Thrive Market and this Rayo's. Both of them are really good. So you're just going to put that sauce on top, and then you're going to cover the top with some mozzarella cheese. It goes back in the oven for about 10 minutes just for the cheese to melt. And this is what you are going to see. Yummy, really good. Pair it with a salad. excellent, excellent dinner. The next one is a new recipe. This is the cabbage casserole. So you're going to need some onion and a bell pepper. I'm using an orange one. You're going to need some ground beef. You're going to put all of that into a pot and saute it up in a little bit of avocado oil, or if you need any oil, I just put a little bit of avocado oil. You're going to go ahead and just saute all that up till the beef is cooked and the onion and bell pepper are nice and softened. And then you have your cabbage here. So I just have a medium cabbage head that I chopped up really, really well, and just want to go ahead and set that aside until your meat and all that is done cooking. So our meat's done cooking. I'm adding in a little bit of garlic, and then I'm just going to go ahead and add in some salt and pepper to that and cook the garlic for just a couple of minutes. You need a can of fire roasted tomatoes, and then the spices, you're going to need a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika, half a teaspoon of oregano, half a teaspoon of garlic, half a teaspoon of onion powder, and then some salt and pepper. Put that into your meat, stir it up really well, add in your cabbage on top, and then you want to put a lid on there. I always add a little bit of water to my lid whenever I'm steaming something like this, and just put it on top, and you want to turn your heat down to about medium or so, and what you're doing is just going to wait until that cabbage gets nice and cooked down. And once it's cooked down, you're going to add on some cheese on top. And then you put the lid back on, wait for the cheese to melt, and this is what it looks like. So it is so good. The cabbage is nice and tender. You have that meat and you have those vegetables, and it is such a filling meal. And again, it makes almost better leftovers than it did the first day that I had it. This next is a tried and true chicken alfredo. My alfredo sauce is really simple. I don't have a recipe for this. I just use 2 tablespoons of butter, 3 tablespoons of cream cheese, and you're going to saute that up until it's nice and creamy. Add in some minced garlic. In the meantime, I have some chicken over here that I'm laying in my casserole dish. Added on some salt and pepper onto that. These are just some chicken strips that I already bought that were sliced up like this. And by this time, my cheese and butter is all melted, so I'm going to add in some heavy cream and also add in some half and half. I have to be honest, you guys, I don't always measure this. I just eyeball it because I've been making this recipe for years, even before low carb and keto. You want some Italian herbs, onion powder, garlic powder, and you want to go ahead and put those in there. You're going to saute it all up, and then you're also going to add in some mozzarella cheese and some Parmesan cheese. Now, I do measure these. I do a 1/4 cup of the Parmesan cheese and a 1/2 cup of the mozzarella cheese. And then we have our broccoli and cauliflower that I steamed in the microwave, adding it to the top of the chicken. And then we are going to pour our creamy Alfredo sauce on top. And this is what it looks like. It's going to go into a 375-degree oven until your chicken is cooked through, so about 25-30 minutes depending on how big your chicken is. And then when it comes out, it looks like this. I added on a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top and put it back in the oven, and that's why it's a little bit cheesy like this. But this is definitely a really good recipe. I will link an alternative one down below that has all the measurements if you need something like that. This last recipe is going to be the low carb taco pie, which I have made this many times, but I don't think I've ever shared it with you. So you have some ground beef here. You're going to cook up until it's nice and cooked through. Add in some taco seasoning. I do make my own taco seasoning. I just have a recipe from Pinterest. We have 1 cup of tightly packed cheese, and we have 6 eggs in here. And then we also have 1 cup of heavy cream. Now I know, you guys, this does not taste like egg to me. People have asked me that. It does not taste like egg. If you're sensitive to egg taste, maybe you would taste it, but I don't. Mix it up really well. Pour it on top of your meat that you put into your dish that I forgot to show. And then you add some cheese on top. So the 1 cup of cheese on top of that. It goes into a 350-degree oven for... how long did it take? 30 minutes. And this is what it'll look like when it comes out. You want to make sure it's nice and set, and you have to let it cool for probably about 15 minutes or so before you cut into it, and it'll look like this. It is an excellent dinner. Highly recommend it. I will have the recipe down below. I believe it came from a blog, and also it's in a cookbook somewhere that I saw. So thank you guys so much for joining me for another Vlogmas video, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye guys.